like to call to order our Community Redevelopment Agency meeting for June the 3rd. Are there any addition or corrections to the minutes of May 13th?
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded to approve the minutes of May the 13th. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries unanimously. Anybody from the public wishing to speak to an item that is not on the agenda of the CRA? If so, please come forward at this time. If not, I will move on to agenda item.
Sir.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Good morning.
Have you filled out a card with the
Yes,
clerk?
I did.
And just give us your name, please. And
So my name is Kathleen Beckman. Good morning. I am an engaged Clearwater resident. I'm incredibly proud of the city and the people who live and work here. Thank you to you all for your service. Thank you for trying your best to do what is best for Clearwater. But I think you can do better. I want our city council and city boards to first and foremost serve the needs of our residents and respect their wishes. The residents of Clearwater have indicated time and again what they care about, what they want in development. Every day I interact with residents in Clearwater. Their concerns are real. They want more options in affordable housing. They want solutions to our traffic and parking challenges. They want Clearwater to be a leader in supporting the needs of its service workers. They want to be safe. They want this city, whose economic stability is dependent on recreation, namely beaches, fishing, and boating, to value the environment and sustainability. Protecting our fragile natural resources and environment and making all decisions with sustainability in mind is crucial to the survival of Clearwater, both economically and aesthetically. Each one of you needs to be a leader who accepts that fundamental fact and lets it serve as a foundation in all of your discussions and decisions. Today, I would ask you to consider the environmental impact of each decision you make. This is particularly relevant with the Edgewater project. Have you conducted appropriate environmental impact studies prior to giving approval for more development? Is this development really necessary? Or is it merely an outside developer or someone with a connection to a politician ready to make money at the expense of a community he or she does not even live in? I would urge you to take to heart and adhere to the philosophy of the Clearwater Neighborhoods Coalition. Namely, they support development and redevelopment that is environmentally and economically sound, that is sustainable, and that is supportive of the character, aesthetic values, safety, and transportation needs of neighborhoods. I urge you to listen to the desires of the residents first and respect the recommendations of the highly paid consultants who have advised you to leave a smaller footprint, both environmentally and financially, with the Imagine Clearwater development in particular. Thank you.
anybody else from the public wishing to make a political statement or other comments? And for the record, please understand that this is the Community Redevelopment Agency. It has nothing to do with the Edgewater Drive project. And the sustainability, again, this is the CRA, but it wasn't on the agenda, so your comments are appreciated and noted. Anybody else from the public wishing to speak to an item that is not on the agenda? If not, we will move forward to agenda item 4.1. Ms. Thompson, welcome back. And before you start your presentation, you need to show us a picture of your baby.
It's on my phone, so I'll pass it around here.
No. Put it on the video.
Put it on the envelope.
All right, let me find the cutest one. Can it go here? Oh, or it's not on.
You broke it. Now it is.
Maybe? There we
This is
go.
Ms. Thompson's first meeting back since she was off on
And
maternity leave.
There's Luke with his little cousin Dylan. We think his hair will be curly like that. They looked the same at birth. And it's his first day in daycare at Sunshine Academy by Clearwater High School. So, hold it together.
Okay.
All right, well, I heard that you had 2 months with no presentation. So, back to the screen. So I'm going to make up for that. I won't be too long, but well, first of all, let me just say thank you. It's a little bit scary to leave for 3 months. right? Something that you're really passionate about, and to leave your department when all these activities are going in momentum. But I really appreciate the support of the trustees during this time, obviously the staff and Mr. Maxwell, that things kept going with only, a few hiccups, at least that I heard of here and there. So I appreciate everyone's support during that time, and I'm very happy to be back and ready to keep the momentum going. We are at a halfway point on our strategies. So I put the dates up there, and this was adopted at the end of September, right? So it was to go from October 2018 to March of 2020, as we know when elections are coming up. So whether we're terrified by this fact or not, we're halfway through trying to achieve these goals. And I just wanted to take a moment to highlight what's been accomplished and where we've course corrected, right? Because of course we don't know everything perfectly from the start. We're going to have to iterate and learn as we go. And so reminding our desired outcome is create lasting change, right? So not just intermediate or short-term change, but lasting change in downtown by shifting the perceptions held by public and investors about city government and downtown Clearwater to one that aligns with the adopted vision. And we know that everyone can have a different perception of a situation, right? Driven by their personal experience or maybe what their friend thinks. We also know there's facts that exist, when we choose to participate in a shared reality, right? So part of the work that we're doing is shifting these perceptions, because we know that we need belief in the public. We need the public to believe in downtown, and we need investors to believe in downtown. And the perceptions that we're tackling here, I just want to focus on really from risk adverse to committed, right? And every time that we are making decisions, we're implementing programs, we're investing funds, we're showing our commitment to downtown. And we have already done a lot of that. If you look at the streetscape, if you look at what's working with Imagine Clearwater, the city has invested millions of dollars into downtown, and we will continue to do so. We're also going from scattered to focused, right? We're not trying to be everything to everybody. We're not trying to accomplish every single idea out there. We're very focused on what we're trying to do. And then the last one I'll emphasize is soul thunder to partner, right? So a lot of the work that we're doing in the CRA is not, what can Anne France do as an army of one, right, over 20 years, right? Or what can Amanda do? What can the mayor do? It's how do we find and sustain partnerships so that we can have this lasting change. And the perception of downtown, this year we're really focused on showing how vibrant downtown is. We know the great businesses and events that are already occurring. We're showing that it's going from no arts to arts infused, right? The mural program is a big part of that. And if you look at the different murals and how diverse they are, the different stories that they tell, that is because they are selected by the property owners, right? That wasn't CRA staff, right, choosing each one as a curator. It's because we found great artists, we put them in front of the property owners, and they selected artists that spoke to them and their values and the story that they wanted to share. And finally, from exclusive to welcoming, right? We hear a lot of times, I'm not sure that I belong downtown, I'm not sure that there's something for me, right? We know that's not true. Downtown is a safe and welcoming place, and we're working to make it even more so. And so we have 4 steps here. Appears simple, but this is actually very hard to do, and we are doing it. We've committed to a strategy that we're halfway through. We're communicating it, we're implementing it, and we're tracking and publishing results. So again, we can course correct as needed. It's not a set it and forget it. We are actively always evaluating the work that we're doing. So the 4 focus areas of our 18-month strategy, as you know, creating and sharing authentic, right? That's important, positive stories. It's not propaganda, it's real. Construction on Imagine Clearwater, 600 housing units, and $100 million of investment. I bolded number 1 because without number 1, it's going to be very, very difficult to accomplish the rest of these. We always have to stay focused on the first result. So under creating and sharing positive stories, when this was first adopted, those top boxes said complete, underway, and proposed. These are now all complete, right? These have all been accomplished in the past couple of months. Especially, we're very glad that we have a full-time public relations person, and I know that I'm not going to show you any more social media videos today because I know you've seen a lot, but that's an important part of that. And we've also got our new focus right in the permitting department on downtown projects. And as far as signature and everyday events, holiday extravaganza, right? That was the first time we had a major winter celebration, and it's coming back again. And I'm so excited that special events is really taking the lead on that with new ideas and implementing some new programs there. So So this month, we had 25 media mentions. Know Before is in the news again for their continued growth, our #1 downtown tech company. Blast Friday was mentioned as a budget-friendly option, and I think if you remember noting that half our population, right, is income insecure, these budget-friendly options are really important. So Blast Friday is a great way to support that. Also, the Capitol Theater received award, another major city investment in capital improvements and ongoing. And Children's Day had 1,500 attendees this year, so that event keeps growing as well, a really unique event for the downtown gateway. And we'll send you links to the videos. So our Dreams of Dali experience, right? It's wrapping up June 30th. To date, we've had 3,165 visitors, and I was there on Saturday and worked for a couple hours, and I have to say that it was wonderful. If you have a chance to spend 30 minutes or volunteer and see people coming through, it's very, very impactful. And I'll show you some more examples of that in a moment. But we have 2 events closing out on June 22nd will be our Arts Tech Showcase. So we're partnering with the library, we're partnering with USF St. Pete to show some augmented reality. Also, a virtual escape room on the beach is coming over and showcasing some tech. And then we're having an event with Dolly staff and some Clearwater CEOs. So a smaller event to talk about how arts provides for quality of life, which attracts talent, those employees that you need to support your business. So this wall, the interactive activity right now in Second Century Studios is a surrealist self-portrait, right? So people are invited to draw themselves in one color. And as I was looking at this wall, I really love this because it points out that all of our arts programming is not arts for art's sake. And that's fine, right? That's lovely, but we're doing it because it's advancing our strategy, and our strategy is changing perception, right? So if you look at this is a perfect example of how people perceive themselves, how they can think of themselves in a different way. And then we have these little cards here, and it says, you know, where are you from? When were you last in downtown Clearwater? Has this experience changed your perspective of downtown? How? So when people finish the exhibit, they're invited to fill out this card, and then they're placed all over the wall. So I want to share a couple of those. We know we have the people who already love us, right? If you think of a bell curve of a spectrum, it's like, I love downtown more, right? So that wasn't a hard sell. We also have the people who are not convinced. They might not ever be convinced, right? Did this change your perception? No. Now, maybe they already thought it was great. That's why they put no. But in full transparency to show you the range. Then we have things like this. Nice to see some of the shops I wouldn't have walked in without this. And that's the sweet spot for us, right? This is the person that we're trying to reach. You have a free, high quality experience. It's engaging, and you think, let me try something else I haven't tried before in downtown. Then finally, a visitor from France. Downtown is consistently evolving into a great place to live and play. And we know that a good majority of our population and visitors to downtown are tourists. And so this is another outcome that we love to see, that they believe it's evolving and becoming better and better and a great place to live and play. So another important part of this exhibit is supporting local businesses. So this is a card here that everyone can take when they're finished, and it gets them discounts at over 10 restaurants and retail stores. We've been having targeted meetings with local companies and community groups in the space, and we've been hosting private events. Right, so essentially this Second Century Studios has operated as a living room for us where we can bring in groups, whether it's real estate agents or employees from tech companies or school groups, and we can share the experience with them and share our vision of downtown. So a lot of people are asking, what's next, what's next? You know, Amanda, are you going to build an art center? We are not going to build an art center. The CRA in that space. What's next is we'll have a mixture of art exhibitions and retail experiences through the end of the year. And then our goal is that that space is leased, right, to a private business that can provide, that they can worry about the doors being open and providing services, right? And we can move on to our next project. Permitting, I just want to thank Ella in our planning department. She has started a new site plan review process for zoning in the downtown zoning district in US 19. So this is another business-friendly approach where you can come in and get your zoning checked out before you go to the expense of building a full set of plans, right? Getting a full set of plans. And there's a little bit about permit data. Nothing surprising there. Beginning construction on Imagine Clearwater. Again, it might not feel like it when you're in it every day, but you have completed a lot. I really want to highlight Harbor View is down. It's gorgeous. Loving that view. Really exciting. And I don't want to steal Michael's thunder. I'm sure he has many more updates on what's next here. I do briefly want to touch on the parking issue. Since I feel a little bit responsible that was under my care prior to leaving. So why did we do a parking study? These were the questions that were the main drivers for the parking study. And the intent was that this would be a staff resource and a CRA trustee council resource for making decisions in the future about how to invest in public parking. That was really the intent of the assessment in the study, right? Because we were being asked, well, what happens when those surface parking lots by the water go away? Does downtown even need more public parking? And if we're going to continue to ask high-tech companies to come in that we know require more parking per square foot than other office uses, how do we need to be involved in that if we're going to continue to attract those kind of uses? And then what are public options, right, for supporting retail and restaurant uses? Because we control the public part, right? We don't control the private part. And if we do build parking, where should it go and how many spaces are needed? So this was really the focus of the study. And our findings, and this will come as no surprise to you, right? Peak demand is during weekday afternoon. We have a surplus of 2,800 parking spaces, public parking spaces on evenings and weekends. If we continue with current trends, right, the housing build out, the office occupancy, the retail and restaurant build out, we're going to need 500 spaces within the next 10 years, right? That coincides with the disappearance of the surface parking lots as Imagine Clearwater is reconstructed. And then when we start having events over 5,000 attendees, we really need a transportation management plan. Now again, this is all couched in access to public parking, that's city and county parking, right? This is not taking into account what private actors, right, in the private market's doing. So immediate recommendations, and this would be the parking department and engineering that would be implementing these, right? That the CRA is working with parking and engineering. Update parking notification and pay technology. Keep public parking within 2 blocks of Cleveland Street open to the public. Just want to pause here for a moment and understand that there are competing interests, right? The parking within 2 blocks of Cleveland Street, there's some office users who want to reserve that. There's retail and restaurant who wants access to that. Our recommendation is, from what we've heard, right, and seen, is let's keep public parking public, right, so we can deal with the ebb and flow of our visitors to our retail and restaurants. That's the CRA perspective. And we should consider new public parking at one of the 3 sites identified in the study. And so if you look here, there's 3 sites, and some of those are under consideration for the city-county shared facility. Right, the one at the top 2 is owned by a private property owner. The city has 1 small lot in there, but could be a potential mixed-use office-type development. So each of these locations, if we build more public parking, you're within a 5 to 10 minute walking distance, right, of Cleveland Street that's highlighted there in blue. Right, so that's going to get us within that walking distance. Some short-term options, and I want to be really clear that we are empathetic and we do want to work towards providing short-term options because we know that just building public parking way off in the future is not enough. I think we need to prioritize curb space downtown for valet, Uber, and other drop-off type options. We need to work to get retail and restaurant employees who now park, below City Hall, or we're parking by Harbor View, some guaranteed parking. That's a stable population, right, that we can help manage. And research the feasibility of short shuttle routes between parking garage locations, right? There's electric shuttles that are used in different places. And acknowledge that already we've eliminated commercial business parking requirements, right? We're not requiring anyone to build parking. We allow valet operations already, and we have funding and design approval for wayfinding signage. Are there any questions before I move on? Good. Okay. So permitting 600 housing units. This is probably the scariest focus area, and I'll be honest, I don't know that we're going to get 600 housing units permitted in 9 months, even though I'm going to continue to try, maybe at least in the planning stages. But under this, I'll be bringing to you next month a proposal for the MLK warehouse site. We have a brewery proposal for that. We'll also be bringing to you a funding request for streetscape and facade enhancements for 1100 Apex. And they have 2 restaurants secured in their space. We issued 2 RFPs for rental housing on 2 lots that the CRA owns. And what we learned is 30 days is not enough time. It's not enough time to receive quality proposals or enough proposals. So in working with the city attorney's office, we're going to change to more of an LOI, a letter of interest process that'll be open for a couple months, invest way more in advertising, and then once we have some strong LOIs, then we'll open the official 30-day bidding process. We have an architect hired for the Mercado project, and as you know, you've issued several grants for food and drink tenants and property owner, and appreciate the extension of the property owner food and drink grant through September 30th. So we are still working and very focused on attracting that 4 to 7 new restaurants and bars. All right, private investment. So again, this is all leading up to increased private investment, right? And we want to match the millions of dollars that the city has and will continue to put into the downtown. So the State Opportunity Investment Fund, remember these were created back in early 2018. New regulations were released a month ago, and we're meeting with investors. We're working with Pinellas County to make sure that our investors who create those funds know what to do and how to use them. And I have an asterisk here under county TIF renewal. Even though this is public money, it can't be understated how important it is that the county extended our TIF for 15 years without restrictions, right? Without any new restrictions. And that is a minimum of $1.5 million a year that's coming into our CRA that can be spent on capital improvements. And they haven't done that for every single CRA. And the reason we were successful was, one, we've spent the money correctly. Right? When we go back, our CRA, we've done a really good job of spending county money within the guidelines that they provided. And 2, if you remember, we adopted Chapter 4, right? So we weren't showing up saying, hey, give us more money, but we don't have a plan for how we're going to spend it, right? We had a really well thought out 5-year plan of projects and improvements that we could point to how their funds were going to be invested. And the bulk of my time, in the remaining 9 months is really spent on attracting this investment, right? And working with Michael Delk and with the city attorney, Pam Aiken, right? So that we can, and Denise, right? So that we can really attract this private investment. The land transferring from the city to the CRA will help us in this LOI process. And then we're doing new targeted advertisements, Invest Tampa Bay. We have a full page ad I'll show you in just a moment in a networking event that connects us with CEOs and investors from all around the Tampa Bay region. This is a picture of that ad. And I think I remain very excited because look at that picture. This is a gorgeous place with plenty of opportunity, right? And that picture shows you everything. So just in closing, remember this is what we want to hear at the end, how we know we've achieved success in March of 2020, right? We know that our construction and planning process is predictable, right? We know that we continue to engage the community through events, even through construction of Imagine Clearwater, right? There's something cultural every day of the week, right? You can have a cultural It's a great place to live, right? Because we have those restaurants and pubs within easy walking distance. And we really focus on quality of life. And just 2 last points that I'll make related to the environmental. We are thinking about that constantly, and we're working with Duke to put in electric charging stations throughout properties in downtown. We also haven't had a chance to take advantage of the PACE legislation, right? So we have these older buildings, as they're renovated in environmentally sustainable ways, there's tax benefits for participating in the PACE program. So we're focused on making the right investments. I want you to feel confident in that. We're committed to realizing the vision, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you guys may have.
Vote, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Great presentation, Amanda. Thank you. I was especially interested in the short-term solutions because we all, I think, are in agreement as far as a long-term solution. A garage is needed. Short-term solutions is needed right now. The things that I've heard over and over, and I'll give you one for instance, and you did talk about it in your presentation. This weekend I was downtown a lot. I was downtown Friday and Saturday, and I park in the Garden Street garage. Both days I was there, somebody passed me and go, "Can we park in here?" Irregardless of the big sign outside, irregardless of the new P signs downtown, when you talk about creating positive stories and repeating, we really, I think the focus needs to be that there is available downtown parking nights and weekends and during the day. I would suggest that most people don't know the county parking lot is available, and that's 3 blocks. So I think the wayfinding and continually hammering in that message of all of the available parking for nights and weekend and daytime is extremely important. And in addition to that, you did address technology there a little bit too. There are apps out there that can identify, okay, Garden Street Garage has this many available, because that's a lot of that population, they are application savvy. They can just go on their phone and go parking downtown. And they should be able to go, and they should be able to see county garage, garden garage, the different available. In addition to that, continue to pursue those relationships with private property owners for the short-term solution, because that's what I'm hearing, at least over and over and over, where there's a problem. And so I think we do have solutions, but we just need to communicate that continually. So thank you.
I agree.
Thanks.
Mr. Kondo.
I had, excuse me, a question in a different area. Welcome back, by the way. Great to have you here. The landlord-tenant program was only partly successful, and I'm wondering, do you have any plans for the rest of the year to try to use those funds that, 3/4 of which have not been used, to attract tenants? And are you thinking about a different program than the one you had last year that maybe would attract more tenants?
So we have the property owner grants have been extended through September 30th. So our main focus until then is really getting the word out, right, to help those property owners secure tenants, right, and then making sure the tenant grants that have been received, that they open their doors,
But
right?
that's only open to those who have already applied.
Correct. So where I'm at today is I'd like to get that completed before launching another program, just because one thing that we've learned during this process is how much work it takes to get a tenant through the door, right? And property owners are hiring brokers, right? They're doing some limited advertising, but it's really going to take our staff time too to help get those tenants in place. And at this point right now, with the number of staff that we have, it's very hard for us to promote 2 separate programs at once. Right, so we have all those property owner spaces that we need to find tenants for, and the tenants benefit, right, from those improvements. It's not just benefiting the property owners, right? It's reducing the tenants' cost that they would have to spend to build out the space. But I as soon as, and I'm always thinking about all these things, right? But that it's really a 30 to 60 day cycle to create a new program and to get it adopted. So we're really focused on advertising the current grants that have been sent out now, and then as that's going along, we'll be coming back with other programs and
If
options.
I could ask a second question. The other program that is always available, are we doing enough advertising for that anyone with an idea can come to the CRA with a proposal?
Probably not. And we would have to, it depends on how we define success, right? Currently, we have 3 requests that have come through. One, we responded back and said, hey, we want to explore more, send us information. We're waiting on more detailed information. Another one, the Apex 1100, you'll hear next month, right? And then I just received a 3rd one probably 2 weeks ago for another brewery space, right, that we're meeting with them, I believe, this week. So, it kind of depends on how we want to define success. Is that enough? Is that not enough?
Well, I think only, if I may, sir. How many applicants had been approved ahead of time?
For
For the Pre-qualified.
We had 9 spaces.
And all
For the
nine
property owner.
qualified? And then we used, what, 1, 2, or 3?
So far, you've granted 1 property owner grant, and then you have 5 spaces, I believe, that are still active, that they have until September 30th. We have the Nolan, we have the east side of Station Square, we have the former dry cleaner site, I think the one in Kathy Pinnacle-Liss's spaces.
In your own opinion, what do you think is the likelihood of their being successful? The ones that aren't being?
I think if we really focus on those spaces, I think they're gonna make it, right? Remember, our challenge is we're back to the perception issue, right? And there's 2 things that make this a perceived risky environment for restaurants. 1, lack of foot traffic, right? They come down and they say, oh, I don't have enough people, I can't count on people walking by, right? So I'm gonna have to be event focused. 2, I think this is diminishing, but there were concerns around the permitting process, right? The perception of the permitting process. And 3, the cost of build out. So far, we attract tenants that do not have a lot of capital. In the past, that's what we've attracted, right? They've needed a lot of money, a lot of investment from the outside in order to open their business. So with the events that we're doing, right, with showing progress on Imagine Clearwater, and they're starting to see tangible improvements. Okay, the risk is lessening, right? We can invest. And then with the property owners guaranteeing, right, they have this grant money guaranteed improvements in hand, that also lessens the risk for tenants. It's just tough, right? Opening new restaurants and retail is extremely difficult, right? Because it's a risky business. And our job is to be consistent and committed and reduce that risk. So I think if we stay committed, right, and we really push these grants that we've given, then we're going to be successful. I think if we throw out another program too soon, it becomes confusing, right? Because then it's like, because the first question I get is, well, what spaces are available, right? And then the second question is, how much money would you like to give me? So we know what our spaces are, we can push those and find the right match, help that owner find the right match.
Thank you. Thank you,
Mr. Alburn.
So let me ask it in a different way. Is the CRA following up on these 5, the ones that we extended till September, to find out if how they're progressing?
Yes, I mean, Anne Fogarty France has been in constant contact with them, and as you may know now, she is retiring in July, which is a huge loss for us. We're very sad about that. But we will continue to do that. So we're following up in 2 ways, not only meeting and calling with them regularly to say, who are you meeting with? What information do you need? How can we help? Right? Traffic numbers, population numbers, income numbers, that data we can provide. We're also keeping in touch with the permitting office. Kevin Garrett has been wonderful in giving us updates every time we ask, where are we with permitting? Where are we with inspections? So that if there's a holdup, we can reach out to the owner and say, hey, we noticed you haven't picked up your plans that have been approved, or there hasn't been an inspection in a while. So those are the 2 ways that we're communicating to try to push the process along.
I guess what I'm asking is, the 5 that we've extended to September, I just want to make sure that they're still interested, or how many, and I'd like to have you bring that to us in a next CRA meeting to say, we've got 1 that's following forward, the other 4 seem to drop out. I'd like to know what that is. So we still have interest from all 5 of them? That was the kind of, I think, our concern was giving them the time, thinking that they would be viable, applicants. So I just, instead of waiting till September and find out nobody was really interested, I'd like to know kind of an update at the meetings to tell me, yes, they still have interest, they're still working on it, so.
Yes, I mean, I can tell you immediately that the Station Square space and the Nolan are still very interested in working on it. And then I'll get further updates for the remainder
Thank you.
of the group.
Mr. Hamilton.
Well, and I guess I've made the comment before, and I don't think there's anybody in this room that can answer the question, but I think the real, it's almost like a game of dominoes. The first domino we need to fall is commitment one way or the other from the county on whether or not we're doing a joint facility, because that will then begin a lot of wheels to turn, hopefully in a positive direction. Hopefully the county is interested, because I think that really moves the needle for us to make a commitment on where we're going to put more parking for downtown that can serve our needs as well as the downtown merchants and offices. And I think, like I said, that's the big one, and nobody in this room right now knows what the county's going to say for sure, or what their commitment is. So we're kind of waiting on that. But, things are definitely moving in the right direction. I know, I hear a lot of people tell me, the permitting, I think our permitting department does a pretty good job. I think the only people that, most of the people that don't think our permitting department do a good job is because they're not allowing them just to come in and say, here's what I want to do, and walk out with their permit. But, it's, in today's day and age, that's just not how easy and what it works like. Other than that, Mayor, I do have a comment, but it's not related to Amanda's presentation. So before we adjourn this meeting, I'll make the comment. But
Ms. Thompson, to open up an old wound, we were criticized that we haven't reached out to the downtown partnership to tell them where we need help. Well, in my opinion, these are areas where the downtown partnership and other investors in downtown should also be reaching out to these people who have their applications pending to say, hey, this is something that's worthwhile, and this is why we're in downtown. This is why we're the downtown partnership. So maybe we need to let the downtown partnership know who these applicants are to see if they can encourage them to supporting downtown and investing in downtown. So I would encourage you to let the downtown partnership, the Chamber of Commerce, and the Merchants Association, and all these groups that keep waiting for the city. Here's your opportunity to do what your function is. Mr. Hamilton, any other questions or comments? Mr. Hamilton.
I think the city manager.
Well, no.
No, go ahead. You go first.
I have one question
Sir.
that I'd like for all of you to comment on, and it has to do with the position sometimes we find ourselves in as the staff in talking to investors and talking to property owners. We want to be able to communicate to them what your expectations are of them. And I'm just curious if you have any comment to make. As we talk to this, what would you expect the investors and the property owners to communicate to us that you feel would be helpful in this process? Because a lot of times we get questions, for example, your comment about, are they really interested, or are they still interested? And I've heard similar questions in the past, and I'm just wondering, well, maybe one of our issues or challenges is really effectively communicating what our trustees would like to hear from the investors and from the property owners, as partners in this process.
Mr. Pogler.
There are 6 applicants, how many ever, with very large restaurant retail spaces in downtown. Going to be signature spots. Taxpayers are willing, the city of Clearwater is willing to give them incentive money up to $250,000 to build out their space. Those are new spaces. Those aren't like the old spaces that are falling around downtown. So what I would expect to hear from those property owners that have applied for this grant is, we are still aggressively looking for a tenant. We've done our part by setting this program up. I would like to hear from the investors. And to piggyback off what the mayor said, the partnership, the chamber, the Merchants Association, every one of them should be motivating, talking to those property owners, and I'll call every one of them out. Go find a tenant, because we gave you 6 months, okay? I was a fan of incentivizing tenants as well, because we are a tough market. That was not what my colleagues decided. We wanted to give the property owners another 6 months, okay? So now everybody, that's what I want to hear from those property owners is, we are aggressively trying. Don't come back and ask us for anything else. We're talking about problems for parking solutions. Go find a tenant. Okay, we're getting ready. I'm going to bring up something later at the council meeting. We are moving forward with Imagine Clearwater. I drove past it. It's incredible. It looks great. It shows progress. So that's what I want to hear. I don't want to hear asking for anything else unless we come back with a different program if we go that route to incentivize tenants, which I still think has validity, but let's see what happens.
Mr. Kunda.
I'd like to know from the investors what kind of work they're doing to try to find the tenants, and then why the tenants, at least to this point, are saying no. What expectations do the tenants have that they've told the investors that keeps them, from accepting, coming to an agreement? That to me would be helpful information.
Mr. Albrecht.
Yeah, I think what each one of you said, I mirror that. The mayor was spot on with getting other organizations, which we have a lot of them downtown, and these are stakeholders that have invested money in downtown, and their interest is to bring in people and make downtown vibrant. They're the ones that have the most really to lose because they've already invested, so that's great. And what Mr. Polglay said is spot on. We just need to. I need to feel like there's something being done instead of let's wait till September and see what happens. So I think any kind of a feedback we can get, I mean, it's a great offer, it's a great program, we decided to extend it, so I'd like to get updated to see if things are moving in the right direction.
Well, I don't want to just reiterate what's been said, but I mean, again, the program's good through September, but that doesn't mean at the last meeting in September is when we want to approve all this. I'd be happy to approve something at the next meeting or in the July meeting. Well, I won't be here at the next meeting, but I would the July meeting. But it comes down to, as I've said many times before, you got to spend money to make money, and we've offered. We're trying to incentivize that because, and the example we always bring up, Clear Sky Downtown, Mr. Shevlin. When you invest in a property and you build a restaurant or an operation that looks, the quality of that restaurant and the food is the quality of that restaurant, you're going to get clientele. People are going to come there. And if we can get people to see that and say, you know what, I'm going to do the same thing, maybe not serve the same food, but I'm going to invest in my property, I'm going to invest in my business and build that situation. All of a sudden you get 3, 4, 5, 6 of those. All of a sudden you got people want to come down, and it's like, you know what, I'm going to go downtown, and if this one's busy, I'll go to the next one. If that one's too busy, I'll go to the next one. And everything works together. And that's what we're trying. That's where we're trying to get to, and we need some people to, take those chances.
To build on that just for a second, we keep talking about Clear Sky, but we forget the Puerto Rican restaurant.
Oh yeah.
That has been here for 2-3 years. Yeah, and there's another classic example of someone who's come in basically on his own, without any incentives from the city for the most part, and been successful. I don't want us to be in a position, well, okay, if this program doesn't, this isn't an airline that's overbooked, and we make an offer, okay, if you give us your seat, we'll give you $300, and then 5 minutes later, if we're still overbooked, well, now we're going to up it to $500, to try to get people to give up their seats. I don't want us to say, well, if this program doesn't work, we're going to turn around and give more money the next time. Because if that's the case, we're never going to get anything done. And I also think we need to be careful that we're not negotiating between the property owner and the prospective landlord. That's not our role. And I think too many times people get confused that the city is the negotiator here, between the property owner and the person wanting to open up his business. So I think we have to be careful about that.
Right, just to these points, remember the focus groups that we did last summer with tenants and property owners and the surveys, and two findings that came out that really surprised me. One, they said the best thing you can do is increase foot traffic. That's it. They're like, don't even give us money. Spend all the money on increasing foot traffic. And when I said why, right, because we know upfront costs are so expensive, because they said the amount of money that you're going to give us will open our door or get us through year one. But what do we do year 2, 3, 4, 5? And if we don't have the foot traffic to support year 2, 3, 4, 5, then we're only open for a year. So I think we have found a balance, right, between helping reduce those barriers, right, and reduce that risk. But we are also, again, hyper-focused, right, on upping foot traffic and all the ways that we can, short-term, right, through events, through arts, through those experiences, and long-term through building housing.
Mr. Horn, hopefully we answered his questions. Okay, any other comments, Council, Mr.
Well, what, you had your.
Yeah.
Mr. Brett?
I think this goes back to what you were saying, that we need to refocus on the message for downtown. And imagine Clearwater, if we get the energy back into that project, that'll go a long way to make everybody feel energized around it. So I think that's what we really need to focus on.
Mr. Hamilton?
Okay, my comments are in regards to the comments made during Citizens to be Heard. I don't disagree with almost anything she said, because I think everybody sitting up here, we're here because we love Clearwater and we're doing what we think makes Clearwater a better place. But I think the 2 points that need to be remembered are, number one, property owners have rights as well. If you own a piece of property and it's zoned a certain way, you have rights on that property. That number one. But the part that gets me, and I don't appreciate, is to arbitrarily say there's a connection between one of us and the property owner, and that's why they're getting the ability to do something. I can promise you, I have nothing to do with the owner of that property. I don't know which one she's alluding to, but I think it's unfair to throw that out there in any way, shape, or form unless you're going to identify who you're speaking about, and you better be able to defend what you're saying, because I think that was totally out of line, and I don't appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Hamilton. The other point that I think we need to keep in mind is that these are public meetings. The citizens can say whatever they want, but it's not a political forum. It's not a place for you to come, or it should not be a place for you to come and make your political campaign statement. And if we were to do that, we would be here all night listening to candidates wanting to run for office, giving us their statements as to what's going on, and we are not doing the business of the city. A citizen has every right to speak on whatever he wants, but he's got to be fair and respectful, and I concur with what you were saying. And that was why I made my comments earlier, so I appreciate that. Mr. Horn, you had stepped out. I don't know if we had answered your questions, but satisfactory. Ms. Thompson, do you have anything further for the CRA?
I do not.
Okay, we will adjourn the CRA and convene the work session for June the 3rd. Agenda item 3.1.
Approve the electronic surveillance support team multi-agency voluntary cooperation mutual aid agreement for law enforcement services between the Florida Department of Law Enforcement and the City of Clearwater, effective upon execution through February 28, 2022, and authorize the appropriate officials to execute same. Deputy Chief Gandy.
Morning, Mayor, Council. The department's asking for council approval to enter into a new mutual aid agreement with Florida Department of Law Enforcement related to the electronic surveillance and support team. We've been operating under the originally signed agreement from 2015, and this would just be, for lack of a better term, an extension of that agreement, but under a new agreement with no substantive changes.
Any questions for staff on agenda item 3.1? Consent? I'm
Yes.
sorry,
I
Mr.
ju- I
Kondo.
just, maybe you could, if I may, if you could explain a little bit what surveillance you're talking about.
Well, there are multiple tiers of
It's more than
surveillance.
automotive.
Excuse me?
It's more than automotive.
Uh,
Has automotive surveillance, red light cameras?
It has nothing to do with
It has
that.
nothing to do with
So it has absolutely nothing to do with that. You confused me a little bit there. So essentially, there are several types of surveillance. There's human intelligence, there is open source, and there's electronic surveillance that would include audio, video, things of that nature. This agreement also provides for the ability for us to seek support from FDLE to enhance video, audio, things of that nature. Any other questions?
It's basically for crime
Yes, sir.
investigations.
Yes, sir. In exigent circumstances, crimes, court-ordered surveillance, things of that nature.
Consent?
Yes.
Thank you. Agenda item 4.1.
Impose a temporary moratorium within the city of Clearwater for a period of 180 days on the use or offering for hire of motorized scooters and micro-mobility devices or issuance of any permits or franchises pertaining to micro-mobility hubs and pass the appropriate ordinance on first reading. Mr. Hartman.
Good morning, Mayor, Council. Here to present this moratorium for 180 days on micromobility devices. You probably are familiar from some stories you've heard about the boom in these motorized scooters that are happening across the nation the last few years. And the Florida legislature, in their wisdom, passed a House Bill 453, which basically designates scooters, electronic motorized scooters, as micromobility devices that cannot go in excess of 20 miles per hour, and providing those with the rights and responsibilities of bicycles and bicyclists. That opens up, while we were under the city manager's direction, we had formed a interdepartmental committee late last fall because we were starting to hear the companies coming and presenting to us and asking what our regulations were. We put that committee in abeyance when we heard this legislative action was taking place to see what the outcome was, and we found out the outcome was, well, they're allowed to go everywhere that bicycles are, on roads, on sidewalks and such. So while the legislation is pending the governor's signature or the passage of the expiration time where it goes into law, we thought it was prudent to come to you and ask for a moratorium while we develop a program for two reasons. We need to regulate where we propose to regulate the use in the future and also the operators, the businesses. We don't have regulations really specific for these types of uses or operations at this time. One is you cannot use them, motorized devices on sidewalks, and they're not registered, so you can't use them in the roads. Unfortunately, this legislation seems to allow them to be used in both locations, and it leaves open to local jurisdictions the ability to regulate them. So that's why we're proposing a moratorium to give the city staff time to create a program and regulations to bring back to this council for your review and direction.
Okay. Any questions? Mr. Kondo.
Two-part question. Do we need 6 months in order to come up with those regulations? And then how much tax dollars might we lose during that 6 months from businesses that would otherwise be operating?
Well, I do not believe we would need the entire 6 months because there are so many other jurisdictions, but they have done it in a variety of ways. They have put in pilot programs, then pulled back the programs, and then rewritten the regulations. But hopefully we would be able to get back within 4 to 5 months, not the full 6 months, because we don't want to have the deadline come up and we're just bringing that to you. So that's a very good point. Tax revenues, right now, up to this point, we can't really define any tax revenues because we don't have businesses that offer these types of services. They would need to be put in place. There's a lot of regulations such as the number of vehicles, the number of companies, docking or dockless where they have to be left, picked up to recharge. There's just a whole slew of different things that we need to get in place. So we don't know, I don't have any information regarding what the tax revenues would be during this period.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
Mr. Albritton?
Well, this is interesting because I'm the MPO guy on the board, on the council here, but I think the thing that we have to concern about is the safety issue, because I've heard stories in other communities. So my question would be, during this time that we have this moratorium, you're going to develop some kind of safety program for this, so they're not piled up in the middle of sidewalks and knocking people over? Is that correct?
Yes, Councilman, that is the most important aspect of this whole thing, is the safety issue, whether they're left just on sidewalks blocking them, docking locations, but the speed. One of the regulations that has been developed in most of the programs is you define what the maximum speed is. You also do a geofencing type of thing where they have a GPS device that they cannot go outside of certain areas. So there's all sorts of regulations. Do you want to have parking hubs where they're required to be left? You develop when you're an operator, you need somebody local who can quickly act on this. And what are some of the penalties or some of the guidance that is provided to not only the user, but also to the operator and their responsibilities. So yes, safety is a key issue on this.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think, we've all read in the last week or so in the paper about, everything going on in Tampa. It's just rolling out in Tampa, and they're already noticing, oh, well, this isn't being done the way it was supposed to be done, and this isn't happening. We're going to run into that same thing. And safety's the big thing. And, but for me, I'm one of those people. I look at it and I say, this lady right here is going to get a lot busier when we start doing stuff like this, because, it's just the way it is. Society is today. Somebody's going to come out of one of the establishments in downtown after having probably, one or two too many, and they're going to get on one of these and they're going to be going down. They're going to fall and they're going to get hurt. Well, are they going to take responsibility for themselves? No. They're going to go back and they're going to say the place I had consumed my alcohol shouldn't have let me drink. Then they're going to go to the company of the scooters and say you shouldn't let me be on one in that condition. And then third, they're going to come after the city because the city allows them to operate. They're going to, it's like, because nobody takes personal responsibility. And I'm sorry, there's nothing. It's one of probably the most, the one mode of transportation where you are absolutely responsible for what occurs while you're on it. It's just you and this little two wheels. That's it. It just, what Tampa's doing, I'm more than comfortable waiting 180 days to kind of let the dust settle in Tampa and see where they go with it, because these things scare the heck out of me personally. And, because then out on Clearwater Beach, as busy as we are out there, it's like, oh my gosh, it's frightening.
Yeah. I know it's the fad, but to echo, well, first off, let me ask my question. Does the state legislation provide that if we don't want them, we don't have to have them? Can we absolutely say none in Clearwater?
I believe it does allow, to prohibit them as the regulation, yes.
Okay. And how do you control the safety point? Because, Council, I'm not sure if I had to relate to y'all or not. I was on one of my courier trips in Salt Lake City, and I almost got run over by one because the person on it just decided to hop off, and the scooter just continued going, And this was on a sidewalk that was no wider than our sidewalks here in Clearwater. And, there's no way that you can control that even if you have it in the legislation, right?
Well, there is. It's speed. Let me address a couple of the issues that have been raised here, what most of the jurisdictions, at least that I've followed throughout the country, have introduced pilot programs in restricted areas for a temporary basis. Secondly, you can control the speed. So you can, I've seen it as low as 8 miles an hour maximum speed, which is basically a casual bicycle rider on the sidewalk, up to 12, even up to 15. So you have, I don't know the technical term for, I'm not a car guy, but you know, where you have the car motor cannot go faster than a certain speed.
Governor.
So, what is it?
Governor.
Governor, thank you. And so there are those types of things. And the third thing is that there's insurance by any of the companies that are providing these for high levels of insurance that they have to guarantee as far as being able to cover liability and things of that sort. So those are just a few of the items that will be prepared for your reading and knowledge.
Okay. So this will be on our agenda for Thursday night, or excuse me, Wednesday night. Our meeting is going to be on Wednesday, June the 5th this week instead of Thursday, June the 6th. Again, our meeting will be on June the 5th. It's starting at 6 o'clock. Agenda item 5.1.
Approve a blanket purchase order contract with SNF Polydyne, Inc. of Riceboro, Georgia, in the amount of $450,000 with the option for 2 one-year extensions in accordance with City of Clearwater Code 2.5641B, sole source. Mr. Porter.
Good morning, David Porter, Public Utilities Director. I'm in front of you this morning asking you approve the purchase or the issuance of a purchase order to SNF Polydyne, which is the company that we utilize to provide polymer for use in our 3 wastewater treatment plants. Polymers used to thicken sludges, biosolids generated at the wastewater plants, and allows them to be dewatered so that we can more economically transport and dispose of the waste materials. So with that, I'll take any questions.
Any questions on agenda item 5.1? Mr. Hamilton.
Well, I got to ask the question. I mean, this is something that, this is dirty business, but $450,000 for this chemical that extracts the water out of it, so all we're sending is a more solid product down. Is that $450,000 less than what the dumping fee would be for the excess weight?
It would be. We transport the solid materials to be used as a soil conditioner, and that has to have a certain consistency in order to be able to be used for that process. If we didn't have this, if we didn't dewater it properly, it would be a liquid form, and it would have to be disposed of in a very entirely different manner that would be much more expensive. So we transport it now all the way South Florida.
That's what I wanted to hear.
The costs are enormous.
Thank you.
Mr. Albritton.
Yes.
Is this kind of the process that Milorganite uses
No.
in Milwaukee? Okay.
Milorganite's a whole different thing. They
Okay.
actually take the material, it's the same materials, but they actually dry it and bag it. It's a whole different process.
All right, but this is simple. I mean, you're drying it out basically and then using it as a soil conditioner?
When we dewater it, we get it to the point where it's about 20% solids and 80% water. It's just spongy. So it's dry enough that we can transport it over the highway, because that's about as good as you can get using conventional mechanical methods. So it goes over the highway to a farmer's land, and then it's churned into or disked into the hay fields and used to produce hay. So actually, the farmers are actually quite happy with it. It offsets quite a bit of fertilizer use.
Okay.
So it's good for the environment, good for us. It's the most economical way we have currently to get rid of it.
We learned something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was waiting for the mayor to say biosolids. He usually likes that.
Consent?
Yes.
Final comment, so it's for animal use then, hay?
It's for hay. It's not used on crops.
Not used for sod or anything that comes back in contact with humans?
And I'm not sure if some of ours is being used for sod or not. I don't think so. Currently, it's being used for hay. It is able to be used for sod.
Because I know most of our sod comes from South Florida.
Yeah, it is able to be used for sod, but currently the sites that I'm aware of, it's being used for hay.
Thanks.
Okay. Consent?
Thank you.
6.1.
approve the purchase of a 2019 International NV607 with Maintex CM190 crane to replace G3732 2011 Freightliner with National Crane for the pricing, terms, and conditions of the Florida Sheriff's Association contract, FSA 18-VEH 16.0, specification 13, in accordance with section 2.5641D Code of Ordinances, other governmental bid, authorized lease purchase under the city's master lease purchase agreement, or internal financing via an interfund loan from the Capital Improvement Fund, whichever is deemed to be in the city's best interest, and authorize the appropriate officials to execute same. Mr. Cossett.
Good morning, Perry Conzen, Fleet Manager. Fleet is requesting an out-of-cycle replacement on the crane and truck that is listed. Crane originally was installed on G2305, which was totaled in 2010. It was then transferred to G3732, a 2011 Freightliner. The crane has recently failed an annual inspection and cannot be repaired due to the fact that the vendor has gone out of business and parts are no longer available. The truck frame no longer meets minimum specs to mount a new crane on that frame. Therefore, truck and crane must be replaced together. The total cost is $166,000 for both combined.
Any questions for staff on agenda item 6.1, consent?
No question.
Mr. Fogler.
Thank you, Mayor. Is there any monetary value to the total lead equipment, salvage metals? Was it?
Well, the crane's not total. It's just been deemed. It's been red tagged, so it can't be used anymore. It can be used. It can be sold for parts, as it is. But it's a very old crane, as you noticed. And
So that's what we're going to do. Sell it
that's
for
what we're
parts.
going to do. Yeah.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Condon.
just one question, clarification really. We are talking about a 2019 international truck for the
That's the
sake
truck
of
portion of
it,
it.
with a
And then-
20-foot flatbed,
Yes,
and then a 70-foot crane.
correct. The 70-foot is fully extended.
Yeah,
So once
yeah,
retracted, it
yeah.
gets on the bed. Yeah.
All right.
And just to clarify, whenever we have equipment that we're no longer using, we don't just ditch it, right?
No.
Okay.
No, that'll go to auction, it'll be sold as is, and typically with something like this, people purchase it for parts on
For
other
the
equipment.
parts, yeah. Okay.
What do we use a 7-story crane for? Is that picking up big
It's for
sewer
public
pipe?
utilities, and you know, they need those cranes, they only have one crane left, and the problem, this is why we're doing it out of cycle, is they can't find rentals. Because it's so busy in the
So
area,
busy.
it's become a problem, and that's why we're doing it out of cycle.
Okay, so we'll put 6.1 on consent.
Yes.
Second readings are 7.1 through 7.11. Any questions on our second readings? If not, we'll go to agenda item 8.1.
Imagine Clearwater update from Mr. Dell.
Yeah, we've chatted the last week or two about kind of our agenda, what we're working on. So what I thought I would do is just kind of publicly go through this, and if you've got any questions. We're really gearing up for the next work session and the city council meeting the week of the 17th. So as we've discussed, we will be bringing you a presentation on the library. You all have not seen that yet. So we're going to present that to you at the next work session. We may be asking or intend to ask you for some decisions regarding that project on the night of the 20th at the city council meeting. We have reinitiated the Memorial Causeway Bridge Lighting program. I have contacted some consulting assistants who will work under our Stantec contract with our Imagine Clearwater, since this is a component of our Imagine Clearwater project, to assist us with the permitting and dealing with DOT. And she will be researching some lighting systems, some other examples of lighted bridge and how those projects are managed. So we should have that project underway very shortly. Engineering is going to be provided the scope of work, which we have already developed with her, and we'll hopefully be able to get Stantec on that pretty shortly. As we've discussed, we're still working on taking a look at the potential revisions to the phasing program for the Imagine Clearwater Park. One of the things that came out of some of our individual meetings with you was some interest in a kind of an a la carte menu, if you will, of some various improvements, and so we're going to try to work on that. The objective, of course, is that some of the more basic, key, and significant components of the park may be able to move forward sooner rather than later. To try to help in doing that, we've been talking with engineering about getting proposals for a construction manager on this project who can kind of help us devise ways to implement and speed up the construction process. What I would like to do is to take a little bit more time in the interim and look at work with the Stantec folks, the urban designers, and the architects regarding the entertainment venue and what that looks like. I'd like to think that we've taken the most creative attempt at designing that as we can possibly take. And also, I think it would be good for us to have if there's and I believe there's an opportunity for this with the Gateway Plaza and the canopy up there and some of the other structures, take a consistent kind of urban design theme throughout the park. So I would like to be able to dive into that a little bit deeper with the consultants, but I don't want that to impede our efforts towards permitting construction of the basic green space of the park and the entryway plaza. So that kind of gets to our phasing and the a la carte menu, if you will. I've been working with Pam, and we've been chatting with our original consultant who did the economic analysis for Imagine Clearwater, HRNA, Carrie Herstein in New York. And what we will probably be asking you to do is to move forward and update some of our economic analysis. That project is now over 2 years stale, so we want to make sure that when we get ready to issue the RFP for this, the Harborview site and the other properties, that we're starting with the basis from a basis of current economic understanding and numbers for downtown. So I think that can be kind of important when we get this out on the street. And so we're talking with, actually, we have a draft from HRNA that Pam and I and Amanda will be reviewing. The other thing is we've initiated some discussions with some outside assistants to take a look at the adaptive reuse potential for the North Ward School, the City Hall Station, and Fire Station 45. I think I'll save this for our later discussion on the menu. I think, or on the agenda, we'll get more into that at depth with the council's discussion item. But I think that's a beneficial process for us to take a look at those properties. So we're trying to pull some of those together to have some more definitive decisions for you to make on the second meeting this month, on the 20th. And we'll cover each of these items in a little bit more detail at that time. So that's kind of what I have for this morning.
Any questions for Mr. Dell? Mr. Hamilton?
Not a question, as much as you all are aware, I will not be at the next meeting, and we're going to be making the presentation on the library and everything else. Michael and I are going to try and get together before I leave. Before I leave, he's going to make the presentation to me and let me see it. And I will give my comments to the city manager and Michael and whatnot. So I'm looking forward to that. But I think it's great. I think, I'm just looking forward to, making a few decisions and getting things. So I think as we make decisions, say this is what it's going to be, this is where we're moving, that shows progress. And I think that's very important right now to the people of Clearwater, that we can say, we're making progress. So,
Mr. Albert?
And I appreciate telling us when things are going to happen. Like next meeting, we're going to be discussing this. It's good. It gives me a kind of an insight and a plan to, if I have any questions, to bring it forward to you. So
We'll have some big decisions on the 20th.
good.
Mr. Duck, clarify something for me. You had mentioned doing phases and doing steps. You had indicated that the Gateway Plaza, which I believe originally was going to be the first phase. So you're getting ready to give us some plans for the 20th for us to go forward to approve for the 20th on the Gateway Plaza to get that started so it doesn't just stay and
Well, what I hope to do is to, and we're working with engineering, and that's one of the reasons we want to hire a construction manager to help us, but what I would like for us to do is to be in a position where we can build what has been discussed as phase 1 and 2 as a single phase.
Okay.
So basically, all we would do, we would construct all the parks south of the garden and where the existing amphitheater is, and then we would come back and finish that as the last phase.
Okay.
Now, I think the question with that is, what do we do with the major structural components of the park? And so that's where our à la carte and our phasing, what I think is an opportunity to kind of make sure we've got the right design on those key structures. I don't really think we're there yet with that. And I want to make sure that we made every effort to design those well.
Along the lines of this a la carte thing that you're discussing, is it feasible to do the band shell and for the park without the covered area, right away, or to phase that in a two-step process, or is that not?
Well, actually, that's been the subject of a very specific meeting that we've had with engineering and with our consultants. I think, ideally, it would, if we could, there's no question about the fundamental stage in terms of the stage and the canopy, but we want to design that, whatever the canopy covering is of the stage, there's no question about that being a component of it. We want to be able to to develop that in a way that is consistent, that kind of common theme, if you will, in the park. So I think the back of house and the covered seating, we're looking at whether we can phase those things. That obviously gives us some flexible, from a financing standpoint, flexibility, but what we're having to work through is whether or not it's, as a practical matter, we can phase some of that.
Okay.
Those items separately, and then you come back and do them later. If if the cost to come back and do them later is exponentially more expensive, then that may or may not be in our best interest. If it's something that we can do, then it may help us from a little more flexibility on the front end with the financing and the payment of the park. We could basically, we could go build a library, for example, and get that going immediately, and that would offset the cost of that. So it's just some choices that we have to make, and we need to make sure we understand what our choices are.
Okay, thank you. Agenda item 10.1, Mr. Poglaze.
Thank you, Mayor. So just comments on the presentation. It's exciting times. Things are moving forward. There's been a lot of hard work by staff. I'm going to get straight to the point, and I'm going to see if I have any support for this. I believe the City Hall should come down as soon as possible, and I'm going to tell you why. I used to take different ways downtown to avoid traffic. I used to take Drew Street because everybody drives way too fast. I intentionally don't do that now. I'll drive down Cleveland Street, I'll drive somewhere else so that I can take a right on Osceola and drive past the Harborview site. That shows to me progress. Or I'll come down Cleveland Street and I see the new businesses getting ready to open, Tequila's, Roxy's. It is really starting to happen. Got a really exciting update from Amanda on a brewery that I'm now willing to continue to be more patient for the MLK site. And I appreciate Michael Delk's time and consideration. I appreciate his passion, his vision, and his energy. And I am 100% on board with an architectural survey for those structures that I feel really bring value in preserving and using an adaptive reuse strategy. North Ward is one of them. We've done it with South Ward, and it's going to be exciting. It's going to be a huge asset when we really start moving the dial. I think North Ward, the Seminole Boat Docks, the ship captain's house across the street, there's so much potential in the North Marina area. And I think with the results, the opinion of the county coming forward for the shared government center is very exciting. And I think the #1 preferred site is going to be talked about much more frequently as this study comes out. And so I think the architectural review of the fire station is totally relevant. And it was expressed to me that, well, we need a cultural and arts program, of which CRA staff has done an incredible job, and that possibly with an architectural review, the City Hall site could be that. I don't see the historical character quality of the fire station or North Ward in City Hall. I'm sorry, it's a square rectangle that looks like it was built in 1969 or 70. So in staying with consistency of consistent urban design strategy and staying with, and Michael said, and I appreciate that as well, that tearing down is not always the right thing, but building up. In this particular case, we wouldn't be where we are if the harbor didn't come down. Tearing was relevant, valid. I think the tearing down of the City Hall is just as relevant and valid, and I'm not because it is a huge site. So we could have a residential component on the east side of the City Hall site, and then eventually maybe an arts, some type of, whether it's a museum, I've heard a lot of great ideas. We could have that at the City Hall site that would tie into the Bluff Walk. But something modern, consistent, urban, consistent with what we're doing. I just don't see that old structure. I see it as a hindrance. I see it as not showing progress. I really feel it's time to have that conversation. We're moving. We're moving the dials in many arenas. And I'm confident, I've talked to a few people in city staff, that probably is going to be a cheaper structure to tear down than the Harborview, and that the asbestos remediation is not going to be near the consideration we thought it was going to be. So I'd like to open that up for discussion, see if I have any support for that. Those are some of my reasons for wanting to see it go down.
Well, Council, let me remind us that we had this same conversation a couple of weeks ago. And Mr. Delk said that he felt right now it was not worth doing because he wanted to do some more research and come back to us with a full plan. Let me also remind us that the initially imagined Clearwater report said that this was the last possible site that should be looked at for redevelopment, that you needed to get an activated park. You needed to get that going before you started looking at other areas. And then finally, we've had this further conversation about who's going to pay for it. We've got a limited amount of reserves. We haven't budgeted tearing down City Hall. We had talked about if you get a developer to come in, let him bear the cost of the building. So rather than tearing it down just to tear it down, let's give staff the opportunity to do what we tasked them to do and stop bringing up subjects to revisit because we didn't get the answer we wanted the first time.
I don't know if I gave all the reasons why I thought it would be valid, and I'm opening it up for discussion. If I don't have the support.
But again, we had the discussion several weeks ago. So are we going to keep coming back, without giving staff the opportunity to come back with its report?
I think that's our job, to question staff and come up with the ideas that are presented to us or the ideas that we have.
Mr. Puglace, we did that, and staff said we need some time to get back to you. And so here we are revisiting it again.
Well, obviously, Mayor, I don't have your support, but I'd like to hear from my colleagues. Thank you.
Mr. Kondo. Well, wait. Mr. Hamilton had his hand up first, and I had cut him off because I wanted to speak first on this.
I'm gonna do another one of my typical bounce like a ping, the old Pong game on TV, but I agree. City Hall needs to come down, but not right now. We have, we demolished, we took the Harborview Center down, and we didn't have to, we knew that was coming down because it was going to be used for a public purpose for the grand entrance into Imagine Clearwater. We don't have to go to referendum to do that one. We're going to have to go to referendum to do something with the City Hall site because we're not going to put another, I don't foresee us putting another government building on that site in the end plan. So it's going to have to go to referendum. And I think, and we all know how referendums in the city, we've been fairly successful with the last few. However, historically, we haven't been real successful. And if you tear down City Hall right now, you're going to create an open view across the property for people driving by, for neighboring properties. You're going to create a benefit that won't be there when it's redeveloped. And I'm sorry, when I look at going to referendum, when I say we're going to tear this building down to build this building is going to be a much easier sell than to say, we're going to take this view away to build this building. Once you create and provide that view, it's not. Now, I think, I'm one of those people, the parking lot at City Hall, as it is today, the parking of that is now, I keep saying CMA property, it's our property now. That property, I think, should be utilized for downtown parking, and we should allow it. We should, I don't know that the CMA property doesn't even have any parking meters. City Hall parking meters probably, as of today, aren't generating a drop in the bucket monetarily. I think downtown merchants and everybody could benefit that much more by just saying, you know what, this is free parking for right now until we know exactly where we're going. This is parking available for everyone. Just park here. Come downtown, please come downtown. Here's where you can park. But to tear City Hall down today without knowing what we're going to replace on that property and having to go to a referendum, convincing the people to let us build on a piece of property that we're going to create a view on by tearing down before we're there, I don't think it's right. I'd rather go to the people of Clearwater and say, I'm going to get rid of this to build this, and so that I know exactly what it is. And again, it's as the mayor said, I think if we get to that point, we can probably negotiate where the developer, whoever gets to develop that property, I think the City Hall and the CMA property will be developed as one parcel in the end, or as one development by one developer. Then I think you can get that developer to pay for the demolition. Yes, there's going to be some minor expenses for security around the City Hall building and making sure we don't have homeless people camping out there and it getting used, people just, doing vandalism or things of that nature. But I think we can handle those costs, those minimal costs. I just don't think economically it's beneficial for the city to tear it down before we know exactly what's going to go there in its place.
Israel, kind of.
What is new about our discussion today is our I forget what your title is. Interim assistant manager. His desire to combine phases 1 and 2 of the construction of Imagine Clearwater. And if that's done, that means all of the parking spaces that are currently down by the harbor and behind Harbor View, which isn't there anymore, will be gone because the green will be planted and lakes will be built. And the only good reason I could see for an earlier demolition is for temporary parking. If all the other parking is going to be gone down below the bluff, then maybe that would be a good place for a couple of years until it's going to take a year for a referendum. Why not use that as temporary parking for the interim? That to me is the only good, solid reason for tearing it down sooner rather than later.
Mr. Albrecht.
Well, I was kind of a proponent on tearing down City Hall. I've been talking about it for a while, but I think mostly because I just want to see something done. And but after talking to Mr. Delk and I see a turnaround in the actual progress and the energy of the project and the different phases that we're doing, it's not so important to me now. So I think I would step back and take another look at it and think, well, maybe I kind of agree with Mr. Hamilton that let's see if what we can do to attract a developer maybe on combination of properties and see if that would be something. And I think it would be, the demolition becomes kind of a minor thing at that point. But as long as we have energy and progress, forward motion of Imagine Clearwater, I'm fine with leaving City Hall there until we get to the phase where we really need to bring it down.
Mr. Hamilton did raise a good point, though, about maybe just making that parking lot free all the time. Do we need to,
I like that.
Yeah, it's a good idea.
can you do that, Mr. Horn, on your own, or do you need to come to us?
Yeah, I can do it on my own. But I would like to know, you should know what, if there is any
An impact.
financial impact, you should know what that is.
But it's probably, you want to bring it back to us? Yeah.
I mean, now that we're past spring season and we're not running free,
Yeah.
you know, the shuttle to the beach and everything else, I mean, there's really very few people parking in that lot during the day.
You can let us know. Next, okay. Council, there's nothing else on our agenda. I thought this was going to be on our agenda, and it's not. But I'm going to bring it up anyway, because I have a concern. As y'all know, most recently, we've been receiving a lot of public records requests. And we have had some problems in retrieving that information. We've had some trouble with, requests on the Sunshine, and making sure that we share information that comes, whether it's on your phone or on your computer at home or on your city computer. All that needs to be shared, and I didn't know whether you, and the city clerk isn't here today, but I didn't know if you wanted to have that discussion, just a brief reminder for all of us, because I don't want any of us to get in trouble. And whether you're having, whether two or three of us are together, at a luncheon or at a breakfast or even at an event, sometimes the perception is worse than what's going on. And I know we have these classes that we take online, but I didn't know whether y'all wanted to have the city attorney and city clerk give us just a brief reminder when Mr. Hamilton comes back at our July meeting.
That's fine.
Fine.
Yeah, if I could
Okay.
comment on that. I made, and you might be referring to me, I made a mistake.
We all.
Okay,
yeah.
well, I want to throw something out there, maybe as a suggestion for the rest of my colleagues. I responded to a citizen on my personal phone, using my personal email address, thinking that would be a high road to take to try to resolve some issues and questions with this particular citizen, because I've known this citizen for a very long time. That was not the right road to take. And I was called out upon referring to that citizen on a personal level. So I would suggest, regardless of who you think you know and how personal you think you are with that citizen sitting in this seat, don't make that mistake, because it can backfire on you.
No, Mr. Poglace, what triggered this for me was the request for public records on our phones. And staff advised me that my phone wasn't capturing. Fortunately, I don't give out my cell phone number to many people. I don't get any texts, on city business. But that's what triggered all of this, and the request for emails that we had received, through the office. What you brought up was something, but it's just a reminder. Whether two of us or three of us are having breakfast together, or at a dinner, somebody's going to think that we're talking about city business.
Yeah.
The people with us may be talking about city business, and that puts us in an awkward spot.
Yeah.
So it's just a reminder for us, on that. And I then found out they changed my phone, and now my phone doesn't sync, and I'm getting really confused. But anyhow, that's the reason behind all of this.
A clarification, I guess, Nicole would be one of the issues, but someone sends me an email to my city email address, and it's one citizen directly to me, not to the entire city council. The fact that it's on my city email address, it is captured and it is available as public record. I don't have to then forward that to the rest of the council to make sure they get a copy. It's there for, if it's just a question from them to me or whatever, as long as it's there and my response to them, it's all captured on the city's server, correct? And I don't need to forward it to all the council.
But in your replies, are you copying Patty?
Yes,
Okay.
I copy Patty on all my responses.
Okay. You're right from a public record standpoint. You do have a policy, however, that says you will forward them to Patty.
Mm-hmm.
So as long as you will forward them to Patty, who will then distribute,
Right.
you are fine.
Okay, well, Patty's always on a CC, whatever.
But it needs to be on your city email,
Uh-huh.
and it will be captured.
Okay.
So just to, let's clarify that point. So really what you're saying, Ms. Aiken, is that the city of Clearwater goes one step beyond in that our policy is that not only is it captured by the city, it's shared by all of us, and it's made available right away to the press.
Yes. City council has a policy where you distribute those. You have a distribution.
Yes. Mr. Albright.
So this is a suggestion, on my personal phone, which I don't answer really numbers that I don't see. If it's a name, I'll answer it. If it's a number, I don't. I just listen to the voicemail. But on my voice message, I say if this has to do with Clearwater city business, that it's public record, and please email me or call me at the city phone, which captures that. If I do get a call, then I try to make a note of it and send it to Patty. But it wouldn't be a bad idea to put that message, on your personal phone as well.
Okay. With that, thank y'all. Again, remind everybody that our meeting will be on Wednesday, June the 5th at 6 o'clock. We are adjourned.